Hi and hello to everyone. In this video we are going to see about the basic concepts in semiconductor. The agenda for this video is we'll be seeing what is a semiconductor, its characteristics or I can say its properties, what is a n-type semiconductor, what is a p-type semiconductor, what about the free electron, hole, donor atoms and acceptor atoms. As well as we'll be seeing the energy band diagram for a conductor, semiconductor and insulator. Welcome to the lecture. Before seeing what is a semiconductor, we have to understand what is a conductor. If I give an example for a conductor, I can say like copper, gold, silver, steel. These are all are conductors because they offer generous flow of charge carriers. That is, current can flow through the material very easily. Okay, such materials are called conductors. When a current will flow, when I apply a voltage source, definitely there will be a flow of charge carriers. Flow of charge carriers is nothing but the current. So such materials are called conductor. What about an insulator? Insulators will offer very low conductivity. That is, the flow of charge carriers is very minimum. Such materials are called insulator. Then what is semiconductor? In semiconductor, the conductivity level is between the extremes of insulator and conductor. Okay, conductor I said very high conductivity, insulator very low conductivity. Then what about a semiconductor? The conductivity is between insulator and conductor. Such devices are called, so such materials are called semiconductors. Let us understand what is conductivity and resistivity. Conductivity is represented by sigma and resistivity is represented by the Greek letter rho. This is rho, this is sigma. They are inversely related. Okay, so if you see higher the conductivity, lower the resistivity, or lower the conductivity, higher the resistivity. What about the units? We know what is resist. Take the pen. Yes. R equal to rho L by A. Okay, this is the R is the resistance. R is the capital R is the resistance. This is the resistance. Rho is the resistivity. L is the length of the material. A is the cross-sectional area. L is the length. A is the area. Right? Now we know for resistance what is the unit. So I can write it like rho equal to resistivity is equal to R A by L. Right? What is the unit of R? Resistance? Ohm. What is the unit of area? Centimeter square or meter square? What is the unit of length? Centimeter. So what happens? Centimeter square want to get cancelled out. So the unit of resistivity is ohm centimeter. Ohm centimeter. Okay, you can see the unit of resistivity is ohm centimeter or ohm meter. Some typical values of the conductor, semiconductor, insulator is given. For copper, if you observe the resistivity, it is 10 power minus 6 ohm centimeter. For semiconductor, it is 50 ohm centimeter. For silicon, it is 50 into 10 power 3 ohm centimeter. For insulator, the resistivity is 10 power 12. Okay, if you observe this value, for a conductor, resistivity is 10 power minus 6. 10 power minus 6 is 0.0050. Okay, this is 10 power minus 6. What about 10 power 12? It is 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is 10 power 12. If you observe the difference, the resistivity is very low. The resistivity is very low in a conductor, that is the copper. The resistivity is very high, 10 power 12 in an insulator. They are taking given an example of mica. Okay, then if you take a semiconductor, it is between those two values. It is not very small or not neither very large. It is between those two values. Okay, for germanium it is 50 ohm centimeter. For silicon it is 50 into 10 power 3 ohm centimeter. Okay, if you observe among this semiconductor which is having better conductivity, whose resistivity is very small, has better conductivity. So germanium is a better semiconductor, has better conductivity than silicon. Right. Next we'll move into doping. One of the very important factors why we are using semiconductor is that when we can manufacture at very high purity level, right? Very high purity level in the sense, I can say it's like in simply speak, like even not even small dust particles will be there. It's highly controlled environment. They will be manufacturing a semiconducting device. That is why we don't have semiconductor fabrication units. Not at every cities or every country doesn't have those industries, right? We need a pure clean environment to have such industry, because they are saying that the impurity level in a pure material is 1 part in 10 billion. Okay, if you take 10 billion atoms, there will be only one impurity inside it. That much highest purity level you have to maintain. Okay, right. So as for semiconductor manufacturing, they are maintaining that, right? So suppose you are adding a impurity externally, right? For some applications, with a pure semiconductor we cannot use for any application, right? So if you want to fabricate any electronic devices, you have to add a impurity externally. Okay, this addition of one part impurity of the proper type, okay, like a pentavalent or trivalent, we'll be seeing what is a pentavalent, trivalent in the coming slides, per million wafer of silicon material can change that material from relatively poor conductor to a good conductor of electricity. Okay, so if you are adding one part per billion, what happens? A poor conductor, a semiconductor in its pure form is a poor conductor, will improve its conductivity. This ability to change the characteristics of material significantly through this process is known as doping. What is doping? Doping is the process of adding impurity to change a poor conductor to a good conductor of electricity. Okay, that is, we are converting a pure semiconductor into an impure semiconductor, or else technically speaking, intrinsic semiconductor into extrinsic semiconductor. We'll look at the structure of silicon and germanium atoms. Those are the two primary semiconductors we are going to take. If you see, this is the arrangement, right? These blue dots are the atoms. Okay, these are the atoms. You can see how many atoms are there. I am seeing about 5 atoms. This complete pattern of arrangement is called crystal. Okay, this is a crystal, and it is repeating means that is called lattice. Okay, this periodic arrangement is called lattice. Okay, this is they have a three-dimensional diamond structure. Okay, and the entire, this is called any material composed solely of repeating crystal structures. If this is repeating again and again, okay, this structure is repeating again and again, then we can say it is a single crystal structure. Okay, we can see if you take the center atom, it is shared, it is having connection with how many atoms? 1, 2, 3 and 4 atoms it is having connections. Okay, 1, 2, 3 and 4 atoms. Likewise, each atom is shared by or having connection with the nearby 4 atoms. And moreover, the important property of semiconductor is if you add an impurity also, okay, it doesn't affect the periodicity of the structure. Okay, in addition of periodicity of structure does not change significantly with the addition of impurities in the doping process. That is one of the important factor why people are choosing semiconductors for manufacturing of electronic equipments. Okay, if you add an impurity also, its structure will not change much. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, let us look into the atomic structure of silicon and germanium. Okay, this is the atomic structure of germanium, this is the atomic structure of silicon, right? We know any atom is made up of will have electrons and protons, and this is the nucleus. Okay, nucleus center part, nucleus will be having the protons. Okay, what about the atomic number of germanium is 32. Atomic number of germanium is 32. For silicon it is 14. That is 32 electrons are there in the germanium, 14 electrons are there in the silicon. Okay, this is a silicon atomic structure, right? These circles are called, these blue color circles are called shells, right? If you look at the shell which is close to the nucleus is called innermost shell. In innermost shell, how many electrons are there? 2 electrons are there. Next shell will have how many electrons? We can see. These are some atomic electrons arrangement based on Bohr's model. Electrons are arranged, right? The important point is not about the inner shell, only the outermost shell is very important for us. If you look at both the germanium and silicon, the outermost shell is the last shell. This shell is also called valence shell. Valence shell, and the electrons present in the valence shell is called valence electron. Okay, how many valence electrons are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly here 1, 2, 3 and 4. So both the germanium and silicon have 4 valence electron. Okay, right. Now this is the atomic structure. I mean this is a single atom, and how they are forming a bonding. Okay, if I take, this is a single silicon atom. This is a single silicon atom. I can say this minus indicates electrons. Okay, outermost shell electrons. How many outermost electrons are there? You can see here in silicon 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so germanium also has 4. This example they are given only for silicon. You can extend this for germanium also. Okay, silicon will have 4 electrons in the outermost shell. Similarly, this silicon will have 4 electrons in the outermost shell. So all the silicon atoms will have 4 electrons in the outermost shell. And we know from the Bohr's model, outermost shell can have maximum of 8 electrons. Maximum of 8 electrons in the valence shell or outermost shell. This shell is called valence shell. Valence shell. Okay, this shell is called valence shell or outermost shell. Can have maximum how many electrons? 8 electrons. But how many electrons are there? Actually, only 4 electrons. Maximum it can have 8 electrons, but only 4 is present. So remaining 4 seats are empty, that can be filled by the nearby atoms. Okay, so if you take this silicon atom, these 4 electrons belongs to this silicon atom. So this electron will form a bond with the electron in the nearby silicon atom. Similarly, this electron form the bond or share the electron with the nearby silicon atom. This also forms a bond with the nearby silicon atom. This electron also forms a bond with the nearby silicon atom. So totally, if you observe, the outermost shell will be having this relation also. This sort of bonding is called covalent bond. Covalent bond. Valent stands for outermost shell. Co, together. Together, valence electrons are forming a bonding. Such bondings are called covalent bond. Okay, that is what explained here, right? Atom has three particles, electron, proton and neutron. An atom lattice, neutrons and protons are there in the nucleus, electrons revolves around it. In Bohr's model, germanium silicon is shown already. Atomic number of germanium is 32. For silicon it is 14. That is 32 electrons are orbiting in the germanium, 14 electrons are orbiting in the orbit of silicon. The 4 electrons in the outermost shell. Okay, these things I already explained, right? Right. And you understand this germanium and silicon are referred as tetravalent atoms. Okay, why they are called tetravalent? Tetravalent, I can write it here somewhere. Yeah, tetravalent. Because outermost shell will have, tetra means 4. Tetra means 4. Outermost shell will have 4 electrons. So they are called tetravalent atoms. Okay, right. Now we'll see other things you can, right. You can see intrinsic semiconductor is very refined, very pure. Okay, so it is a pure semiconductor is called intrinsic semiconductor, right? And what happens when I increase the temperature? This semiconductor, okay, these two semiconductors are intrinsic semiconductor, pure germanium, pure silicon. This is a pure silicon structure. Okay, covalent bonding structure. Okay, and understand in pure form or intrinsic form, it conductivity is very poor. It is an insulator. A pure semiconductor is an insulator, but externally, when I give some energy, what are the forms of energy? Energy can be in the form of temperature, light, or external voltage source or current source. Okay, those are the forms of energy. Okay, it can be of anything, right? Suppose externally the temperature is increasing, what happens? These bonds get broken. Okay, this bond is called covalent bond. This bond is called covalent bond. Covalent bond gets broken, and now your intrinsic semiconductor, which is a insulator, will start conducting. Okay, that is what explained here. And those electrons are called free electrons. Okay, we apply a kinetic energy due to natural causes. What is a natural cause? I said already, natural cause may be a light, temperature, or a voltage source. To break the covalent bond and assume free states. Okay, those electrons are free to move, right? At absolute zero, at 0 Kelvin, it is a pure resistive. Okay, its conductivity is very, very poor. But when temperature increases, what happens? Its conductivity increases. That is why we say this germanium and silicon are negative temperature coefficient of resistive materials. Germanium and silicon resistance decreases when temperature increases. It is opposite to that the conductor. In conductor, what happens? When temperature increases, resistance increases. But in semiconductor, when temperature increases, resistance decreases. That is, conduction increases. Okay, right? That is why semiconductors are negative temperature coefficient material, but your conductors are positive temperature coefficient material. And this is about the energy band diagram. Okay, what is energy band diagram? If you look here individually, okay, here we see this is how many atoms are there in this figure. I can see 9 atoms are there, right? And we know it will have an small piece of silicon will have billions of atoms inside it. So the energy levels of the electrons will be combined together, right? And we have to know that outermost electrons will have the highest energy. That is, the valence electrons have highest energy, right? So if you take an insulator, the valence electrons together form an energy band that is called valence band, and this is the conduction band. And the electron, for conduction to happen, the electrons from valence band should move into the conduction band, right? Okay, what energy is required? We need an energy of approximately 5 greater than 5 electron volt. Such materials are called insulators. And if you take a conductor, there is no need of any energy level because bands overlap. Conduction band and valence band are one over the other. Okay, so there is no need of any external energy. And if you look at the semiconductor, it is very close. Okay, the conduction band and valence band are very close to each other. Okay, for an insulator we have seen the energy required is 5 electron volt. Here it is for silicon, it is 1.1 electron volt. For germanium it is 0.67 electron volt, and gallium arsenide, this is a compound semiconductor made up of gallium and arsenide together, it needs 1.41 electron volt. Okay, and you have to observe one more thing. Look at this figure. This is an for each atom. I said we have a nucleus. Around the nucleus we have the shells. Okay, this outermost shell is called valence shell. This outermost shell is called valence shell. The electrons present in the valence shell is called valence electron. Okay, about the energy. Okay, see, we have all the shells will have the electron, but the valence shell electrons have the highest energy. If you look here, this is the energy axis. If you look here, the inside third level, second level, valence shell, that is outermost shell, has the highest energy. If you observe, outermost shell has the highest energy. This is the highest energy. Then the second innermost, then third innermost. Inside the nucleus, if you go, it has the lowest energy. Okay, and outermost shell electrons helps in conduction. Innermost shells are closely bound to the nucleus. Okay, all the remaining shells are bounded to nucleus. Right? Outermost shell helps in conduction. And the energy level of the outermost shell is the maximum. Those points you have to know. That is what explained in this, right? The more distance of the electron from the nucleus, higher the energy state, and any electron that left its parent atom has a higher energy state than the electron in the atomic structure. Okay. Then what is ionization? Ionization is nothing but by giving an external energy, we will break away the electrons, right? Absorb sufficient energy to break away from the atomic structure and enter into the conduction band. Already we have seen what should happen. What should happen? Electrons should move from valence band to conduction band, valence band to conduction band. For that, what is required? External voltage is required, or maybe a temperature, maybe a light. External energy is required, right? So if you give an external energy, what happens? Electrons on the valence band will break and move into the conduction band. Then we say conduction is happening. Okay, but in in a conductor, there is no need of any external energy at all. Okay, because external energy is not that much highly required. Valence band and conduction band are overlapping. But if you take an insulator, it is very large, right? Greater than 5 electron volt. So ionization is the mechanism whereby an electron can absorb sufficient energy to break away from the atomic structure and enter into the conduction band, right? And the energy required is measured in electron volt, right? Normally in engineering or any physics, we measure energy in joules. Okay, but here we are measuring in electronics, we will be measuring in electron volts, because it's like see some printing mistake, 10 power minus 19. Okay, it's a very small quantity. Energy required is a very small quantity. That's why we are using electron volt units in electronics or semiconductors. Okay, energy required for ionization is measured in electron volts, not in joules. Okay, we know what is energy. W equal to Q by QV, right? We know what is voltage. Energy required to move a charge, W by Q, right? From this I can say W equal to QV. What is the what is Q? Q is charge. What is a what is a charge of 1 unit? What is 1 coulomb of charge? Sorry, what is 1 coulomb of charge is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb, and for 1 volt it is 1. So for 1 electron volt it is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 joules. Okay, remember in semiconductors we will be measuring the energy in the form of electron volt, not in joules. And what is 1 electron volt is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 joules. Okay, next thing, at 0 Kelvin or absolute 0 Kelvin or absolute 0, or I can say in degree Celsius as minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, all the valence electrons are locked. Okay, locked means they are not free to move. Okay, that means at absolute 0 it is a insulator. Pure semiconductor is an insulator. But when temperature is increasing, I can say room temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, or I can say in Kelvin 300 Kelvin. What happens? Large number of valence electrons acquire energy and leave the valence band and cross the energy gap. Okay, and they cross the energy gap. Cross the energy gap. So conduction is going to happen, right? So when temperature increases, it is conducting. For silicon, the energy gap is 1.1 electron volt. For germanium, it is 0.67. For gallium arsenide, it is 1.41 electron volt. Okay, know those values, right? Okay. Now we will see what is an extrinsic semiconductor. Until now we have seen about the pure form intrinsic semiconductor. Now we will see what is a extrinsic semiconductor. In extrinsic semiconductor, we are going to add the impurities externally. Okay, thereby intrinsic semiconductor has now become extrinsic semiconductor. Extrinsic semiconductor. It is of two type, N type and P type. Based on the impurity we are adding, I can say it is an N-type semiconductor, P-type semiconductor. Let us start with the N-type semiconductor. Here, example given is silicon is doped with antimony. Antimony is indicated by the symbol Sp. This is Sp. This is your antimony. Okay, these are the silicons. This is the silicon. This is silicon. Okay, right. And we know antimony is a pentavalent impurity. Pentavalent means how many, if you look at the minus sign, how many minus signs are there? How many electrons are in the outermost shell? 5 electrons are there. If you take a silicon, how many electrons are there? 4 electrons are there. As I said earlier, outermost shell can have 8 electrons. So this electron forms a bond with this forms a bond with this nearby silicon atom, this electron forms a bond with the nearby silicon atom, this electron forms a bond with the nearby silicon atom. But this is free, but this fifth valence electron is free. That electron is called free electron. Okay, so n-type semiconductor is made when I add a pentavalent impurity. Here what example I am adding? For antimony, which is a pentavalent impurity. If you look at the conduction band, the energy, now the new donor energy level is increased. The new energy level is 0.05 electron volt for silicon or 0.01 electron volt for germanium. Okay, in intrinsic form, what is energy gap? In intrinsic form, the energy gap is 1.1 electron volt or 0.67 electron volt for germanium, 1.1 for silicon. But once I add the impurity, what happens? The new energy gap is very, very small. New energy required is very, very small. Okay, right. That is what explained here. I can form a pentavalent impurity. I can either add antimony, arsenic, phosphorus. These elements have 5 valence electrons. They are called pentavalent elements. Pentavalent elements contribute to the n-type semiconductor. Okay, that free electron, that fifth electron is called free electron. Since there is another technical name, this n-type impurity is also called as donor impurity because it is donating an electron. Each atom will contribute the fifth valence electron. Okay, right. Then we move into p-type material. In p-type material, if you observe, you have silicon. This is silicon. This is a silicon. This is another silicon. Okay, you can see silicon atoms. Okay, but what about this? The center one. This is boron. This is boron. Boron, if you see the boron, it is a trivalent. How many valence electrons are there? If you observe closely, you can see 1, 2, 3. Only 3 is there. Here there is no electron. That is why they have mentioned void. Void means absent. Okay, such impurities are called trivalent impurities. Boron, that's what given here. Boron, gallium, indium, these are all trivalent impurity. Trivalent impurities. So trivalent impurities make a p-type semiconductor. Pentavalent impurities make the n-type semiconductor. Okay, so normally see there is a shortage of electron or deficiency of electron. Right, such types of semiconductors are called p-type semiconductor. This shortage or void or absent, it's also called hole. Empty space is called hole. Okay, note that there is now insufficient number of electrons to complete the covalent bond. The resulting vacancy is called hole. It is represented by a, technically it is represented by a small circle or positive sign. Hole is represented by a positive sign. Okay, and these impurities are called acceptor. Why they are called acceptor? Acceptor is nothing but which is ready to accept, right? Hole is there, that is it is ready to accept the electron. So they are called acceptor impurities. Trivalent impurities are called trivalent, are called acceptor. Pentavalent is called donor. It is donating an electron. Here one empty space is there. Here empty vacant seat is there. It is ready to accept the electron. So such materials are called p-type. I can say it's a trivalent impurity or acceptor atom. With acceptor atom or trivalent impurity, I can make the p-type material. Last thing, we will see about the electron versus hole current flow, right? If you take, what about this? If you observe closely, what material? Boron is there. Okay, boron is there. Boron means how many valence electron is there? 1, 2, 3 valence electron is there. Okay, so it is a trivalent. Boron is trivalent. So it is a p-type material, p-type semiconductor. Okay, now you see, I said there will be an absence. If you look at the previous diagram also, you can see this place is empty. This place is empty. Okay, so what happens? It is ready to accept the electron, right? So when I assume, and I will use some different colors. Electrons is coming to this empty space. Now what happens? This place will become empty. This place will become empty. Now this electron is coming here. This place will become empty. This electron, one electron is coming here. Okay, so this place will become empty. So what happens when I am moving, when the electron is moving from left to right? Okay, what is happening? This electron is coming and filling this place, hole. This electron is coming and filling this place, right? So electron is moving from left to right. So electron is moving from left to right. What happens? A hole is moving from right to left. Hole is moving, you can see hole is moving from right to left. I give an analogy. See, some chair is there. Okay, a few people are sitting. Let me say this is the chair. Okay, how many chairs are there? 5 chairs are there. See, and all in this, I mean, one person is sitting here, another person is sitting here, another person is sitting here, one person is sitting. Okay, what happens? This is hole. This absence of electron is called hole, right? Now this person will move to this position. Now this chair becomes empty. This chair becomes empty. Okay, now again this person moves here. Now this chair becomes empty. Chair moves here. This chair becomes empty. Okay, so what is happening? This side it is becoming empty. That is hole flow, hole direction. This side electron is filling. This side it is electron flow, electron current direction. And remember, electron current direction and hole current direction is opposite. This point you have to very clearly remember, and you have to understand this concept. In a conductor we have only electron. In semiconductor only we have the concept called holes. Okay, hole concept is we are going to use only in semiconductor. Hole is nothing but absence of electron. Okay, absence of electron is positive charge, electron is negative charge. Electron is not there, it is positive charge. Okay, is it okay for you? Right, that is what. Okay, that's what I said. If sufficient kinetic energy break the covalent bond, this void created by the hole. Okay, and remember this whole current direction is also called as conventional current direction. Conventional current direction. Conventional current direction is simply speaking opposite to the direction of electron flow. Conventional current direction, okay, is the opposite to the direction of electron flow. Now we look into the majority and minority carriers, right? This is N-type semiconductor, this is P-type semiconductor. Already I explained what is an N-type semiconductor. When I add a pentavalent impurity, I form a N-type like antimony. I form a N-type semiconductor. For P-type semiconductor, I add a trivalent impurity like boron, right? So what happens? Each pentavalent atom will give a free electron. Okay, so these electrons are called free electrons. These electrons are called free electrons. So they are the majority carriers. In N-type material, majority carriers are electrons. Similarly, in P-type semiconductor, each atom will have a shortage of electron or void of, or I can say vacancy of electron. This vacancy is a plus. This plus is nothing but holes. Okay, this plus is nothing but holes. Okay, so in p-type semiconductor the majority carriers are the holes, right? Then due to by nature, because of temperature and those things, other factors, majority carriers in n-type is electron, minority is positive, holes. Minority is holes. In p-type semiconductor, the minority is electron. Okay, and this donor ion, remember donor ion I am indicating in positive. Why I am indicating in positive? Because once it's donate an electron, when electron is given, electron is shortage, right? Electron went out, negative went outside means it becomes positive. That is why I have mentioned donor ion as positive. Similarly, when I accept an electron, what happens? Because hole is ready to accept an electron. When it accepts an electron, it becomes negative. That's why I mentioned acceptor ion as negative. Okay, so an n-type semiconductor, simply speaking, will have the majority carrier as electron, minority carrier as holes. Minority carrier on the holes. Majority carrier is electron. In p-type semiconductor, majority carrier is hole, minority carrier is electron. Okay, and donor ion is positive because it is donating an electron. Acceptor ion is negative because it is accepting an electron. Okay. Thanks for listening. Do subscribe the channel. Any doubts, please ask in the comment section. Wish you a happy learning. Jai Hind.